the birthplace of the Bohemian Revolution. From Cowork 591 Studios, this is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. Co-host Dale Reber is on assignment in the far reaches of Minnesota. And this is the Jesup News for September 11th, 2023. We are sponsored tonight by Cowork 591. It is a place where peoples and organizations work, they meet, they network, they drink coffee, they eat snacks, they host events, and they do so much more here. If you want to learn more, talk to Kelly Seahas. She is the overseer here, and she does a remarkable job. Kelly has time for you to talk about how co-work can make your business or your life better. So thank you, Cowork 591, for sponsoring us as always. On today's podcast, we talk about winners and losers. We talk about Jimmy Buffett and his legacy. We talk about 3 things you need to know. We give a little Cowork 591 news. We look at the events inside the Steve Brown Arts Center. We give you the top stories in Jesup. We talk about freak water in the Louisville lip. And we discuss service and art. As always, remember the Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have an opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. First, the winners and losers, as always. The winners, in my mind, Blake, are the Colorado Buffaloes. For those of you that watched college football's first big week, it wasn't 0 week, it was week 1. But the Colorado Buffaloes, college football runner-up TCU last year, and became the talk of the nation. They had a viewing party of 7.3 million people for that game. They were the winners. The losers right now are out in Los Angeles. It is the Writers Union and the Actors Union. Both have been out on strike for a long time, and they cannot get anywhere. As a matter of fact, it's going to bring some huge changes on networks, not necessarily on the streaming, but on network it will bring huge changes. You'll see a lot of game shows. You'll see a lot of things where there's not a lot of writers involved. So they are the losers. They cannot seem to get a foot in right now. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. It's been a tough week as famous tropical rock musician Jimmy Buffett passed away. He was born in Mississippi, and he had a net worth when he passed away of $1 billion. Now, the argument is that he will have a greater legacy than Elvis. Those of you that, if you look at Elvis, Elvis has Graceland down in Tennessee, but Jimmy Buffett has a theme park, he has restaurants, he has a number of things, and add that to the point that he made 30 albums and he sold 20 million albums. Blake, are you a Jimmy Buffett fan?
I'd say so.
You are. I'll give you a minute to bloviate here and think about this. if you want to. And I'm going to give you and the audience my top 5 Jimmy Buffett songs. Number 5 was Margaritaville. And a lot of people would say that should be his number 1 hit. That is what his empire is called, is Margaritaville Incorporated. Number 4 is Come Monday, and that put Jimmy Buffett on the map back in the 70s. Number 3 is a great story song called Gypsies in the Palace, about the boss leaving and his workers taking over his house and having a party. Number 2 is about his father. It's called False Echoes, Havana, 1921. And perhaps the best Jimmy Buffett song of them all, he wrote after one of the hurricanes wiped out the Alabama coast. It was called Bama Breeze, and he used it to help a lot of those folks rebuild down in Alabama. So from top to bottom again, number 5, Margaritaville. Number 4, Come Monday. Number 3, Gypsies in the Palace. Number 2, False Echoes, Havana, 1921. A heart-touching song about Jimmy Buffett's father. And number 1, Bama Breeze. If you don't know any of those, check them all out. They are wonderful. So please check those out. Jimmy died with he had two girls, and then he adopted a boy later on in his life. So he had 3 children when he passed away. The boy is pretty reclusive, although his sisters are very active in the entertainment industry, like their father. But Jimmy Buffett dead at the age of 76. 3 things that you need to know tonight. Excuse me, Blake. I bloviated for you so you could prepare your 5 best Jimmy Buffett songs. What are they?
I have to admit, I only have 3.
Okay. All right.
Number 3, it's going to be Knee Deep. So that's a song by the Zac Brown Band with Jimmy Buffett.
Okay.
It's one of those ones where I've kind of listened to it throughout childhood, and it's kind of stuck with me.
It's going to be Knee Deep. I don't know that song. I probably know it. It doesn't come to my mind.
Mm-hmm. Number 2, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's not another one of the just ones that kind of gets you up and going.
Right.
And number 1, Margaritaville.
There you go. Very good. The last 2. At the end of the show, I'll have to find Knee Deep and listen to that. All right. Thank you. Jimmy Buffett dead at 76. So last week Dale and I started a segment of the show called 3 Things You Need to Know. And Dale has some pretty good stuff usually. And Paul Yeager liked his stuff about funeral meals. And I have to admit, I've had some pretty good meals at some funerals, if you think about it. But it's just not as big a deal as it was back in the mid to late 1900s. But 3 things that you need to know. First off, the rule of 32. We are all born with 32 teeth. And so you should chew your food 32 times. That is the first thing that everyone should know. Chew your food 32 times, the rule of 32. Item number 2, or hack number 2, three of the 3 things that you should need to know. Avoid the white enemy. Now, what do I mean by that? Avoid eating a lot of salt. Avoid eating a lot of sugar. And avoid eating a lot of flour. Avoid the white enemy. That is salt, sugar, and flour. And number 3, add a lot of color to your food. Especially in the summertime, eat a lot of vegetables, the greens out of your garden. Eat a salad for lunch, and they recommend eating or having a bowl of soup for supper. So those are the 3 things you need to know for this week. This is the Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network, and I'm Jim Gillespie with producer Blake Tempus. We are sponsored tonight again by Cowork 591. Remember, you can network here, you can meet here, you can work here, and it offers you so much more. It is a wonderful environment. Please look into Cowork 591. The obituary is this week from White Funeral Home. Randy Lee Bass, 62, of Jesup, Iowa, died after a sudden illness related to his lifelong battle with cancer on Friday, September 1st, 2023, at University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics in Iowa City, Iowa. Randy was born February 23, 1961, in Waterloo, Iowa, the son of Frederick Robert Bost and Sonia K. Wilkinson Bost. He attended high school at Wapsie Valley High School. We won't hold that against Randy. Where he met his high school sweetheart, Linda K. Franzen. The couple was united in marriage on January 9th, 1982 in Waverly, Iowa. They made their home in rural Reedland, where Randy worked for a metal spinning company and then a plumbing and heating company. In 1987, Randy and Linda moved to Jesup, and he started working for Hirschberg Tiling. I remember Randy living a block down the street from where I lived at the time. He took great pride in his work and won a gold medal in the backhoe Olympics in the mid-1990s. In 2009, he went out on his own and started R&R Drainage, LLC, which continues to operate today as a family business. Just a week ago, he put his last line in for his friend Rich. Randy loved to build and draw things out. He took pride in his innovative watering system for his garden. He loved fast cars. He enjoyed fixing and building them, especially a Chevy Nova. He also enjoyed model trains, camping, and boating. As Randy would say, some are on the river, some are not. Randy's honesty built trust with folks, and the sense of humor made him quintessential good-natured shyster that always looked for a way to make you smile. Contributing to the community was important to Randy, especially the local FFA program. He also loved being with his family and friends. His grandchildren were the apple of his eye, and he was a member of the St. Athanasius Catholic Church. Randy is survived by his wife of 41 years, Linda of Jesup, Iowa, 2 daughters, April Bost of Camrar, and Amy and Josh Van Brocklin of Jesup, Iowa, 2 grandchildren, Raleigh and Riker, his father, Frederick Bost of Reedland, Iowa, 1 sister, Joe D. Feldman of Crestwood, Kentucky, 1 brother, Jeff Bost of Applington, Iowa, 2 uncles, Mike Quayle of Alpha, Iowa, and Donald Bost of Garnavillo, Iowa. He's preceded in his death by his mother, Sonia, and 2 aunts, Dolores Quayle and Joanne Rollison. Randy was a wonderful man. It wasn't much he wouldn't do for anyone. The second obituary is Dorothea Darlene Dorothy Cruz Mark, 80 years old, of Jesup, Iowa, died Wednesday, August 30th, 2023 at ABCM Rehabilitation Center, West Campus, Independence, Iowa. Funeral services were held today, actually yesterday, September 6th. Dorothy was born July 18th, 1943 in Runnels, Iowa, the daughter of William Oldermarket and Margaret Oliver Oldermarket. She graduated from high school in Oskaloosa, Iowa on March 3rd, 1963. She was united in marriage to Jerry Dean Cruz Mark in Oskaloosa. She is a member of the First United Methodist Church in Jesup, a member of Eastern Star, and enjoyed family and friends whenever possible. Dorothy is survived by one daughter, Julie Close of Jesup, two sons, Joel Cruz Mark of Ankeny and Justin Cruz Mark of Jesup, 7 grandchildren, 7 great-grandchildren, 2 brothers, Rod Hampton of Knoxville and Victor Hampton of Oskaloosa. She was preceded in death by her parents, husband Jerry, 1 granddaughter, Lindsay Cruz Mark, and 1 brother, Willard Bud Udermarket. White Funeral Home was in charge of arrangements. The Steve Brown Arts Center Podcast Network. 2 upcoming events for the Steve Brown Arts Center. On September 15th, it would be this coming Friday at the Jesup Public Library. We will be showing Mort Donnelly's art in the community room from 5 until 7. Please make sure to get in. Mort was a fine community member, but an incredible artist as well. Along with Mort's art, I should say, there will be Steve's food truck and Carter Rout, a young man that lives in one of the houses that Mort designed, will be playing music and singing at the library from 5 until 7. So stop down this coming Friday, the 15th of September, and check out Mort's art and listen to Carter sing a little bit. Also, I'm excited to announce for the first time, October 8th at 4 p.m., Abby Brewer, a professor at Cole College in Kirkwood, will be playing a house concert at Cedar Rock. That's the Frank Lloyd Wright House, where we had Katie Hund on, and she talked about the Frank Lloyd Wright House. And Abby Brewer will be playing a house concert there. For tickets, please contact Katie Hund on their website. The email is on their website for tickets. She will be playing American composers Gottschalk, McDowell, Beach, and Price. Rarely do you get a chance to hear American composers, so this will be a wonderful chance. It is one of the last events as the House on the Rock, the Cedar Rock shuts down for the season, I believe the 15th of October. So that is Abby Brewer from Cedar Rapids will be playing a house concert. Thank you to Cedar Rock and Katie Hahn for setting that concert up. As I grew up, I became a connoisseur or a lover of Friday night fights on NBC and boxing. It was back when there were only 3 networks, CBS, NBC, and ABC, and NBC had boxing every Friday night. I saw such people as Jerry Corey and Sugar Ray Leonard, Roberto Duran. The one of the greatest fights I saw was a lightweight fight. It was a fight between a man from the United States. It was a fight in Ireland, actually, and it was 8 o'clock our time, so it would have been about 2 o'clock in Ireland, right after the pubs had closed. And so they had this fight, and there was an American fighter by the name of Sean O'Grady, and then the Irish fighter was like Bill Smith. I mean, they had the names all were backwards, but it was an incredible environment. The people had left the bar and went to the boxing match, and they were singing and celebrating this match. And the match started, and back then, most boxing matches went 15 rounds. And for the first 13 rounds, Smith just pounded O'Grady. I mean, he knocked him around the ring, and the crowd was crazy. It was out of control crazy, but they were having a great time. And remember, they had left the bars and went to this fight. It was 2 o'clock in the morning in Ireland, and 8 o'clock our time, and this young Smith was pounding him. In the middle of the 14th round, O'Grady got inside of him, and I don't know if it was intentional or not, but he headbutted him, and he opened a pretty bad cut over his eyes. I mean, it was bad enough that when you open a cut on your head, you bleed pretty profusely, and this Irishman was bleeding pretty bad. I mean, he was bleeding so bad the blood was running in his eyes, and all of a sudden O'Grady literally smelled blood, and he was pounding Smith. And to Smith's luck, the round ended the 14th round ended, and they got the cut stopped from bleeding in the minute between rounds. But when he came out, O'Grady opened that cut right away, and halfway through the 15th round, he knocked him out. Just an incredible fight. Here it is in my life, probably 40 years later, 45 years later, and I can still remember the fight like it was yesterday. It was that good a fight. But it was also at this time that a man called the Louisville Lip was having an extreme amount of success. And I found an article written by Liam Noland in a writing called Ireland's Own. And if you get a chance, there's a song, like many things on this podcast, there's a song by Freakwater called the Louisville Lip. And if you don't know who the Louisville Lip is, you will find out in this story. He was black, 18 years of age, 6'3" tall, in his stocking feet, and he was called after his father. Standing on the 2nd Street Bridge in Louisville, Kentucky, he did something that for most people would be unimaginable. He hurried an Olympic gold medal into the depths of the Ohio River. The year was 1960. Louisville was was his hometown, a city that was firmly segregationist. His name was Cassius Marcellus Clay, Jr., a name he would ditch when he became a black Muslim in 1964. The Olympic gold medal he had thrown into the river was his own. He had won it at the Rome Olympics in 1960. Selected for the USA boxing team when he heard that he would be flying to Italy, Clay said he didn't want to go. He was afraid of flying, a fear brought on by his bumpy flight to California for the Olympic trials. He asked the officials if he could travel to Rome by ship, and he was told no. Okay, he said, I ain't going. It was a policeman boxing trainer, Joe Martin, who made him change his mind. Martin had introduced Clay to boxing when the boy was 12. Now he took him into Central Park, spent nearly 3 hours calming him down, and told him that if he really wanted to become world heavyweight champion, he had to go to Rome first to win an Olympic gold medal. It worked. Cassius Clay duly flew to Rome, but with a parachute strapped to his back. You could see Cassius Clay or Muhammad Ali flying with a parachute. In his final of the light heavyweight division, Cassius Clay came up against a truly formidable opponent, Ziggy Petrowski. 8 years older than Clay, had a massive total of 231 amateur contests under his belt, and had won 3 European championships. Back to back. He was a southpaw, and he led with his right. He was strong, cagey, and a heavy puncher. Certainly Clay had lightning-quick hands and a left jab that arrowed home in punishing clusters. He used the jab with great accuracy, piling up points to the judges' score sheets and earning shouts and hand claps from crooner Bing Crosby, who was at the ringside to cheer him on. The pole caught Clay a few times with left hooks to the head, but by round 3, the American had worked out how to deal with such an awkward opponent. In the final bell, Petrowski was almost out on his own feet. Clay was the clear winner on points and was the new Olympic light heavyweight champion. At home in the segregated city of Louisville, his sign painter father, Cassius Marcellus Clay Sr., called after a famous anti-slavery leader, and his mother, Odessa Grady Clay, a domestic helper, were ecstatic. Their son had brought honor to his family, to his people, to his hometown, and to his country. But segregation and racism had deep roots in Louisville, Kentucky, Kentucky's biggest city. A New York Times report stated that the boxer was publicly referred to in Louisville as the Olympic N-word. And then came the restaurant incident, a refusal to serve him because of his color. That was when he made his way to the 2nd Street Bridge, tore the gold medal off from his neck, and flung it into the Ohio River. This is where the story becomes blurred because doubts exist as to the validity of the boxer's claim about what he did with the medal. Bundini Brown, his corner man and assistant trainer through his career, said, "Oh yeah, the white honkies really fell for that one." It was Muhammad Ali who released the story, but 15 years after the alleged incident. People who knew him well said he had never thrown the medal in the river, it meant too much to him, and that it was lost during a house move. The restaurant where the alleged refusal of service took place has never been named or identified, but then again, it could have gone out of business or relocated to another town. Ali himself said in later years, "I never knew what I'd done with that medal." Whatever the truth is, wherever it lies, the International Olympic Committee President Juan Antonio Samaranch presented Ali with a replacement gold medal in Atlanta in 1996. The handover came during an interval at a basketball game. It was one of the most poignant moments of the Atlanta Olympics, where the Olympic flame had been lit by Ali himself. That's from a story by Liam Nolan, where he wrote it in Ireland's Own. If you get a chance, listen to Freak Water and the Louisville Lip. Wonderful song. Freak Water is a fine sister tandem as well. Those of you that are college football fans, this is week 2, and this is the annual Iowa State week in Ames. Donald Trump will be in Ames this week for the game. Before I forget, tonight the Kansas City Chiefs are playing the Detroit Lions. If you are a gambler, I would tell you game 1 of the first week of NFL football, I would tell you to take the Detroit Lions tonight. As this comes out Monday after the Detroit game, you'll be able to say, Gillespie, you were wrong or you were right. But I am picking Detroit to win the game tonight, people. So check that out and say something to me if I'm wrong or right, please. But this week, I talked about the Colorado Buffaloes earlier, and I didn't mention their head coach, Deion Sanders, a famous football player and baseball player, for a reason, because I was going to talk about him now. He is the head coach of the University of Colorado at Boulder, and he brought in about 50 new players to his team and turned the team around. Last year, the University of Colorado was pretty bad, and Sanders brought 2 of his sons with him from Jackson State, and one of his sons threw for over 500 yards against TCU this last Saturday. It will be a game against Big Ten rival Nebraska in Nebraska. A lot of people saying, well, we'll find out how good they are this week. There will be 92,000 screaming people or teams or people in red as they scream for the Cornhuskers. But I will pick the Colorado Buffaloes to defeat the Nebraska Cornhuskers this Saturday as well. So again, pick on me. You heard me pick the Lions, and now you heard me pick the Colorado Buffaloes, and I will pick the battle for the roulette wheel of Iowa. I will pick Iowa over Iowa State this Saturday as well. So you have 3 things to mark on your calendar to pick on me about. The Steve Brown Arts Center is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that has a vision for artists, young and old alike, to have the opportunity to better themselves while helping to build the skills of those around them. If you'd like to donate to the Steve Brown Arts Center or have an idea for an event, to go to stevebrownartscenter.org and follow the link. If you have news or would like to sponsor us, email us at jim@stevebrownartscenter.org or call 319-290-0241 and leave a message. I'm Jim Gillespie. Thanks to our producer, Blake Tempus, and Kelly Seahouse at Cowork 591 Studios. Thanks to the audience for bringing these stray dogs into your day. Remember, each day is about little victories.